5.5 Emeryville Police Department's use of the taser. Officer review.
Don't shoot.
I'll make sure the battery's out. What I'm handing out is our current policy on our use of tasers. A couple topics to cover today. Obviously, what a taser is and how it works. Our training and certification process for our officers. And then we'll go over our policy, which dictates how we deploy tasers and the use and so forth. So I'm Officer Yu. I've been here for 12 years. I'm one of the taser instructors here for our department. This is a Taser X26, manufactured by Taser International.
Can you give me camera view?
This is what we currently issue to all of our officers. I'll go ahead and pass it. It's safe. There's no, I removed the power source, so just so you guys can get a feel for what it is. So that's the Taser X26. This is the ammunition, if you will, for it. It's a cartridge. There's a nitrogen capsule in here. What happens is when you pull the trigger, nitrogen sets off the cartridge, which in turn fires these two probes out. The probes are attached to these conductive wires. Electricity flows from the taser down the wires to the probes to the subject.
How much electricity?
Initial output is 50,000 volts, but that's to push the electricity out. Once a connection is made, it's dropped down to 1,200 volts. But the voltage isn't really what dictates how powerful, if you will, this is. It's the amps coming out. Your standard household outlet is, the output for this is 0.0021 amps. So it's nothing that's lethal. So everybody gets caught up on the 50,000 volts. That's not the number that's important. It's the amps coming out of it. So this is the cartridge. So if you want to take a look at it. And again, these are the two probes that come out. These things are designed to penetrate heavy clothing because that's one of the factors that whether or not there's an effect on the subject. Somebody wearing heavy clothing, it just flat out, it won't penetrate the skin. This only works with too good connection to the probes. So if somebody's wearing a big heavy jacket, cold weather, big parkers, if this just sticks into the jacket, it won't work on them. So that's why these things are a little long, if you want to take a look at them. So the way it works, as I said, pull the trigger, fires two probes. To be effective, both probes have to hit the subject. Because what happens is the electricity flows down the line and then passes between the probes. So the area between the probes is what's affected. How the taser works is the body, there's central nervous system, which is your brain, motor nervous system, which controls movement, and then your sensory nerve, so that's what feels pain. Tasers affect the sensory nervous system and the motor nervous system. So what happens is when you're hit, you feel pain, and then it affects the motor nervous system because as the electricity flows through your body, it basically can, there's an uncontrollable muscle contraction effect that works in your muscles. So that's what immobilizes the subject. But again, both probes have to hit the subject and it has to hit a large area. So as I think the cartridge is floating around, top probe flies straight out, bottom one comes down at an 8-degree angle, and that's what gives you your spread. So if somebody gets hit and both probes are within a couple of inches of each other, they're going to feel pain, but depending on somebody's pain tolerance or whether they're under the influence of a narcotic or whatever, they may not feel it and it won't affect them at all. Now, that same subject, if one probe were to hit them here and one down low, because of the larger muscle area, no matter how much of a high pain tolerance you have, you can't fight the fact that it's basically overriding the brain's electrical impulses. Like I said, it's an uncontrollable muscle contraction. So if you have a high pain tolerance, if there's a large probe spread, you can't do anything about it because it'll immobilize you. There's no way to fight that. So again, to be effective, both probes need to be in the subject, and then it has to be a large probe spread.
And how long does it last?
Each trigger pull is 5 seconds. The reason they give us 5 seconds is it gives officers enough time to get to the subject and gain control of them safely. So handcuff, stop the movement, whatever. It's not like the movies. When you get tased, you don't go unconscious, you don't black out, anything like that. Part of our training process is all of our officers are subjected to the effects of the taser, so everybody takes a hit. They're fully aware of what's going on around them. We ask them questions, hey, what's your name? What's 2 + 2? What day is today? You know what's going on while you're being tased during that 5 seconds. And once that 5 seconds is up, you're back to normal. There's no lasting effect to it. Injury-wise, you'll see a little prick, just like if you were to go to a doctor's office and get a shot. There's no heavy bleeding. There's no open wounds or anything like that. It's barely a dot on your skin. Usually for our guys, once they take the exposures, we'll just give them a Band-Aid and they're fine. But it's a 5
How
second.
many times have we used tasers?
We've had a program for, I'd say, about 6 or 7 years now. A conservative estimate, probably be a dozen or so. It's not often, so it's not frequent use. It's just another tool for our officers.
But
to
if
use.
the effects only last 5 seconds, how effective are they? You know, so I'm tased and I get hit, and then 5 seconds later, I'm ready to roll again and punch you guys out.
Well, that's why part of our training process is we don't just let them ride the 5 seconds and stand around and just watch. We take that opportunity to go in and actually gain control of the subject. So yeah, 5 seconds, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're being tased, it feels like forever, and it's plenty of time for us to gain control.
And so the times that you've used the taser, have they been positive? Have they done what you expected them to do?
There's a number of factors that go into the effectiveness. Like I said, the main thing is both probes have to hit you, and it has to cover a large muscle mass. I tased somebody, we were fighting with somebody in front of Denny's. Because of the small probe spread, fought right through the pain, ran at me, punched me right in the face. We also have had more effective outcomes where the subject was able to we were able to gain compliance. So very rarely does it fail. So long as everything works in our favor, like I said, good probe spread, it doesn't hit a heavy jacket, and the officers don't miss, it is effective. So
I'm thinking back to that training that chief that you provided. You only have seconds to decide whether you're going to use a taser or a gun. That's a very serious decision.
Absolutely. So like I said, it's just another tool for us to use. There's nothing in our policy that dictates, okay, if you're presented with this situation, you have to use your taser. So it's one of those things, just as you mentioned in that simulator, you don't have much time to decide.
A second.
Yeah, so I mean, it's up to our officers to decide, given that situation, which is the right tool for the job.
And since we've gotten a taser, our use of force for impact weapons like batons has went down significantly. So the officers are using that, and it's cut down. Supposed to cut down on injuries, both for the suspect and for the officer. So we'd be able to control them quicker. We wouldn't have to go to the use of force won't have to escalate. So usually that'll do it, and then we can control them and get them in handcuffs.
And given you haven't used the taser a lot of times, but given the track record of using the taser, has that happened? Has it prevented escalation? I mean, are we looking at these taser situations and say, yes, it worked to use a taser, or heck no, I put myself more at risk by using the taser?
Every use is evaluated, and the benefit of using it runs from preventing injury to the officer, preventing injury to the suspect, and saving lives. We used it a couple of months ago on a person who was running in and out of traffic, was refusing to obey any request to stop, was creating havoc on Powell, and the only way to effectively stop him without the officers getting hurt or him getting hit by a car or cars crashing into each other was to tase him, and that was enough time to get him out of the roadway and under control.
And when the officer uses the taser, it's not the same thing as an officer using a gun. They aren't put on leave or anything like that when you use a taser.
Not at all.
Not unless there's some. I'm not aware of any situation where that's happened.
Good.
But every use is evaluated. They have a form that they have to fill out. So we can examine it.
Nationally, when the tasers first came out, there was some deaths associated with the taser use. Do you have anything to say about that? You know, as taser technology settled out and improved, at the beginning of tasers, it was a little bit more dicey about the use of them. Is that true? Or?
Well, what I'll say about that is Taser International, which is the manufacturer of these, they do a lot of medical studies, and the studies have come to the conclusion that the use of the taser is actually easier on the body as compared to like a prolonged fight or a prolonged run if you were to run from the officers. It's considered less lethal technology. The deaths you mentioned, a lot of those were attributed to a couple other conditions, whether pre-existing medical conditions, use of narcotics, things like that in nature. But there's been no study that flat out said the cause was only the taser itself. So that's what that's where we're at on that.
And then you have your policy. You don't taser pregnant females or elderly people, thank you. So you have a whole policy of people that you don't taser.
Those are special considerations.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that kind of narrows the field to people who are not really going to get too hurt.
Yeah, and in all the deployments we've had, we've never had any medical issues come up. It's usually just we call PM or paramedics plus. Remove the probes. They go over to the hospital just to get once over by the doctors, and then right to the jail. We've never had anybody admitted to the jail or admitted to the hospital due to any kind of medical reasons attributed to the deployment. So
they go to the jail.
Yeah. So for our Taser deployments, they have to be cleared by medical staff prior to going to the jail. So, like I said, all that usually entails is just paramedics plus, just to remove the probes, because we can't remove the probes ourselves as biohazard. So once paramedics plus removes the probes from the subject, they get sent off to Highland Hospital, just for the doctors to just check them out, and that's just per the jail. Anybody that's, any use of force on a subject, they have to be cleared by medical staff before being accepted at the jail.
What are you telling me, these probes are a biohazard?
Only because it's in the body and there's blood associated.
Oh, all right. John?
Are you taking public comment? I have a question.
Yes.
I was just curious. I mean, not probably in Emeryville, but so they look like fish hooks.
Basically, it's just a string out fish hook.
So I mean, I know you said one goes out and one goes down, but you're in a situation and you guys coming at you, you decide to deploy that. I mean, what's the danger to like a person's face or neck, like getting hit in the neck and an artery?
I revealed the power source to this, but when you arm this, there's a laser sight, so you know where the probe's going to go. And also the targeting, during the training process, we specifically tell officers, hey, it's basically from the abdomen down, that's where you're aiming.
Okay.
But yeah, you do know where it's going to go because of the laser sight.
Thank you, officer.
You're talking about hangover?
I was gonna say like in the eye. You know exactly. In the
face.
It's in the face.
Yeah, fortunately, we've never had anything like
I mean,
that.
that's the thing about it that makes me wonder if it's.
Yeah. So then, just to cover our certification and training procedures, I'm one of 3 instructors here. As instructors, we go and get certified by Taser International. We have to keep our certifications up every 2 years. We go back and it's a 2-year course. That allows us to come back and train all of our officers in-house, so we don't have to send them off anywhere to get trained. As for the officers, it's the initial training course is an full 8-hour training day, and it covers our policy, how the tasers work, employment considerations, so how to use them, where to aim safely, medical treatment afterwards. And our officers have to get recertified every year to be able to carry them. Right now, tasers are only deployed to all officers on patrol division, so everybody that's out on the street that you see, they will be carrying a taser. And the training consists of a classroom portion and then scenarios. So they actually go out, we have training suits, we have training cartridges, so it's not just we're shooting like this static paper targets. We'll actually get in suits and run them through scenarios, whether it be stuff that we've encountered here, or something that happened in we've seen on the news, and another agency encountered something that's kind of unique. We'll run our officers through those kind of scenarios. So that's our training part of it. As far as our policy, you've got a copy of the policy. It's pretty, straight to the point. to deploy tasers, I mean, if somebody goes and steals a coffee from CVS and we tell them to stop and they don't want to stop, we're not just going to automatically shoot them with a taser. Per our policy, violent subjects, physically resisting subjects, or potentially violent or physically resisting subjects. Potentially, what that means is if they've expressed their intent to be violent or physically resist, so if they square up, or if they start making a motion towards a knife over here, or if they flat out challenge you to fight, that's what the potential covers. But as you mentioned before, there's an entire list of subjects we may want to pay a little extra attention to or consider whether or not we want to use a taser. So pregnant females was on there, elderly, juveniles, subjects that are already restrained, so handcuffs, or any other restraints that we have. But otherwise, I mean, that's pretty much it. There's a limited violent or physically resisting subjects. That's kind of where we're geared towards using our taser. Like I said, we're not going to pull this out on everything. This is just another tool for our officers to use so that they have to pick and choose what fits that situation they're in.
Officer, I have a question. I just wanted to see on all, are you carrying a taser on your?
I am.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So it's one of many of your tools that is handy immediately.
Yeah, so that brings me to another
And
point.
while you're here,
Mhm.
start with the taser and go around and name what tools you have on your belt. Start with the taser.
So I have my taser. This is my ammunition for my duty weapon. Handcuffs, pepper spray, baton, and then a duty weapon. So
And flashlight in the back,
Flashlight in
all
my
which
pocket.
weighs how much?
About 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of heft to it. But the reason we carry our tasers on our weak side or non-gun side, we want to avoid confusion with duty weapons.
Right.
So our officers are taught if you're drawing with your strong hand, that's your weapon hand. Offhand is your taser. Just to avoid confusion. Some agencies, they actually allow officers to carry both their duty weapon and their tasers on the same side, or they allow what's called cross draw. So you use the same hand you use to draw your gun, to reach across your body to draw your taser. Just to avoid any confusion, we're required to carry it on our off side and draw with our offhand, so to avoid any confusion. And as you can see, it's similar shape to a gun, but the heft to it, and then obviously it's bright yellow. That also adds to the.
And how long do they last?
The batteries on these, they estimate approximately 500 deployments. We actually have to rotate these out every about 5 years. Just because of the circuitry in here and the electricity flowing through, it just wear and tear normal. But yeah, every 5 years we'll rotate these out.
And they're scheduled to be rotated out this coming year.
Good. Excellent presentation. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you, Officer.
Okay, item 6, future agenda items.